Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and I know I made a lot of videos on the dumpster fire communities of Twitter itself, but what if I told you that Twitter as a company was a giant dumpster fire to begin with? Now this story is something that is pretty gut-wrenching, so, this is definitely like some, viewer discretion is advised type of stuff right now, but to start off with, when we look at Twitter, we look at a lot of communities that are sort of seeping around, you've got those zoos, you got the maps, you got all this crazy stuff, and my personal belief is I always wish that these people got the help that they deserve, because quite honestly, what they think isn't necessarily okay. The end goal of whatever their primal urge is often something that is completely illegal and whatnot. Okay, it's something that is against the law. All right. Now, because I believe that they haven't hurt anybody in the moment, all right, at the time, they should get the help that they actually deserve. Psychiatric help. They need somebody to intervene. They don't need people fanning the flames with angers and calls to action. That doesn't really help the scenario, in my opinion. You need people with you need people with actual psychological understanding to really go into these scenarios and to really sort of sit these people down and tell them what's wrong, how they should potentially change for the better, right? To make sure that they don't end up doing something illegal. Now, why would I say all this and start the video off in this fashion? Well, it's because recently Twitter itself was embroiled in something that they're actually getting sued for, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we're going to give the holy black screen of this is just allegations. So please remember, this is from one side only and not just to Twitter. But the story goes like this. A 13-year-old was basically sending illicit material to a basic predator on the internet. They sat on an account and they basically got into a conversation in the DMs, from what I assume, with someone who was catfishing as a girl on the internet. Now, of course, when you're 13, you got those hormones raging. You're probably going to understand, wow, there's some hot, person on the other side of the world, the other side of the internet talking to me over the internet, right? God damn, this is pretty cool. Now, as a 13-year-old, your brain isn't really developed, so you end up making, decisions that are really, really stupid. This person basically sent off, underage pictures of themselves to somebody over on the other side of this account, right? This catfishing account. The catfishing account also did the same back and forth. So there were some exchanges going on. Eventually, of course, the catfishing account, took off, then went mask off and said, yeah, we're going to go blackmail you instead, kiddo. And the blackmailing to a 13-year-old in this situation is pretty easy. All they really told them was, we'll send all of this dirty stuff you sent us to everyone in your neighborhood and your families. And of course, that is a damning scary situation right there. And of course, as you're 13, you really don't have the mental capacity to think smarter and say, wow, I should, contact the authorities. I should cut it off. You tend to believe that these blackmailers are the most powerful motherfucking people on the planet. So what do you think this 13-year-old did? He continued gave into blackmail demands, and finally, at one point, decided to block these people. To which these blackmailers apparently posted this material out on the internet. One of them hitting Twitter, where it got over like 100,000 views, right? So this was some clear fucking inane shit. These people posted blatant CSEM material on Twitter, and of course, rightfully, the kid tried to get in contact with Twitter. The mom was even involved. And you know what happened when they were filing something with Twitter, when they were filing a fucking report? Allegedly, Twitter sent them this response. We reviewed the content, didn't find a violation in our policies. The Department of Homeland Security, a federal agent of the United States, had to get fucking involved to tell Twitter, hey, listen, bro, that shit's pretty fucking illegal. You should remove it. God damn. Now, again, this is all alleged since it's a lawsuit, really. So when you see something like a Homeland Security officer getting involved, it kind of really perks your eyes up. But also, it's interesting to note that this was a year ago, so it's kind of interesting to the lawsuit now. I don't know why they waited till this point. A little odd to me, but just putting that out there. Now, I want to say for the record, none of this is a Twitter exclusive issue. There are so many social media platforms that exist and are growing every day, and new ones spark up, that these kind of creeps have so many avenues to target, children or anybody on the internet rather through. So this isn't exclusively a Twitter issue at all. We really, as a community and as people who are adults, have to start teaching children about how to be responsible and safe on the internet. Because when you're on the internet, okay, and when you have this option of communicating with millions of people around the world with engaging in private conversations, potentially with millions of people around the world, then you have to understand there are going to be some sick individuals that try to take advantage of the kids around. Now, to understand, Twitter has had numerous problems. One of them that I covered a long time ago was megalinks, which, if you don't remember the megalinks debacle, basically there was a trend, and there still is a trend on Twitter where you do hashtag megalinks. This shows a fundamental flaw in Twitter's reporting policy as well. See, if you're reporting anything on mobile, anything on mobile, Twitter has a pretty almost vague report system where you basically report in the fashion of, hey, this could be adult content. Hey, this person could be, saying some mean things. Hey, this person could be harming themselves. There's never really like a clear-cut option to just outright report, hey, this is child material right here. Or if there is, they don't really make it as easily accessible as you would think. There's some hoops and hurdles to get to all of this stuff. And sometimes you might randomly click something wondering, hey, are you going to give me a more verbose explanation? Nah, fuck it. We just filed the report. It's pretty much done. You want to mute or block this individual? No, motherfucker, this person posted some illegal shit. I would like Twitter to understand that this is illegal shit and then start relaying this to law enforcement fucking agencies. But yes, Twitter has numerous hashtags and trends that basically are infested with creeps like this. Now, unfortunately, the weird part about it is a lot of these trends, for instance, send to receive is a big one. Megalinks, of course, we just talked about, also contain individuals who are just selling their own content anyways. Legal, consenting adults. So basically, these individuals are mixed in with actual legal individuals, and then you start to have this mishmash of a fucking community. Now, Twitter is a billion-dollar company. Yes, Twitter is massive. Twitter could very easily have a few people. I'm not saying like a fucking mega division of Twitter sitting around for this. Twitter could have a few people simply isolating very, very controversial tags like megalinks, creating a whole separate department that looks at all of these flags and says, hey, this person's totally fine and legal. Oh shit, that person's sharing some really illegal stuff. Maybe we'll put them on a fucking surveillance category. In reality, catching these people is tougher than you would ever expect, because all they do is they go on a VPN service that stores all of the logs in RAM, meaning that nothing ever gets saved to a disk at all. They go to this VPN, they file themselves out of a country that doesn't have any jurisdiction for anyone operating over here in North America. They upload, they do all this heinous illegal shit. Twitter takes down an account, they immediately make another account right the next fucking minute, and they're back on the internet right there. There's really no system in place to stop the trend from, or stopping these trends like megalinks, stopping these individuals from even like reaching out to people to begin with. If the trend is controversial, if the trend is where these people are sitting, then you need to start surveillancing the trends. And I don't doubt that Twitter does this to an extent anyways. I mean, they have to be, given all the complaints that they have received up till now. But clearly the system they have isn't enough. In the case of this child, illegal material was allegedly posted on the internet. And listen, if you're getting a Homeland Security officer to come remove this shit off the internet, it's already gone too far. It's not like Twitter doesn't have any access to technology around the world. YouTube, the site we're on right now, has a pretty fucking amazing CSIA engine, which is an engine that is designed to specifically isolate these types of videos, to find out, fingerprint them, and then to report this to law enforcement agencies. YouTube and Microsoft and several other big cloud computing companies provide the service to fucking begin with. And I believe in YouTube's case, this is a completely free service that YouTube offers too. And they try to facilitate as many people, no matter how big your company is or how small your company is, as good as possible. That's as far as I really know, from what I remember on the trafficking hub days. Certain terms and certain conditions may have changed, but YouTube is a big player in doing this. All right, so I'm switching it over here to gameplay just for a second, simply due to the fact that there was a garbage truck that decided to have its way in my neighborhood and made it into the recording. Not really fun, but the whole point of it, the whole point of the last little mention was that, yes, there are systems in place. And you know what? I actually don't doubt that Twitter has access to some of these. Now, in this lawsuit, they allege that Twitter sent them this whole, like, computer-generated email, which said that they reviewed the content. And to be honest with you, I actually don't really believe that message, personally, because if Twitter's bots, even if a computer sent that in that fashion to something this serious, that almost, I mean, from Twitter's legal department, that doesn't seem like something they would send, simply because that would be very, very illegal. Now, what I've shown you over here on the screen is Twitter's, child exploitation policy, which, if these actions were carried out, there are bullet points in this entire situation. Like, for instance, if you just go all the way a little bit down and you look at engaging or trying to engage a child with conversation, like really really explicit conversation. That should have been enough to take this entire person down, even if they were DMing. I believe Twitter can, in fact, look into the DMs when illegal things are done. So, according to this policy, which is active since 2020, I have to see both sides of the story actually play out now that we're getting towards the end of the video, because quite honestly, I think there's just way too much. Now, if this is a policy that Twitter didn't want to enforce, I simply have to say that for Twitter, all you have to do is make a new policy. Allegedly, if you didn't enforce this, adding a new policy to prevent these people, even in a much more granular state, would have been accepted by the community, okay? This is easy brownie points. You know, this is not like a world government, right? This is not like, you know, the UN, so to speak, right? A world body where you had a resolution put out and people veto or deny it. This is a private company where they can implement whatever rule they want. If they wanted to say, hey, we don't want clowns no more, motherfucker, they won't have clowns the next day on the website. And, you know, when it comes to situations like this, I have a hard time believing that Twitter would be this complacent for it. It just seems like that much of an issue. I don't deny that moderation happens with bots all the time. That's, you know how many people use Twitter on a daily basis? That's almost unexpected. However, when it comes to CSAM material, I have to believe that even if a bot responds, there is going to be a human 100% of the time looking through as much as they physically can because of the sensitive nature of the material being sent. Now, again, when you go back to it earlier, I did say that Twitter got sued, right? Like, this happened all the way back January of 2020, so last year. Now, why did it take them this long to initiate the lawsuit? That's a big question that I'm raising in my head. However, I have to see how this lawsuit plays out, because simply at this point, it's a lot of allegations against Twitter, and I want to see how Twitter themselves actually respond, because this is just thrown out. And of course, with something this, you know, of a hotbed, Twitter legal is going to have their fucking day cut out today just to cover the situation going forward. But yeah, no, it's really weird seeing that in this situation, that if this is to play out the way that these people are claiming, these people are alleging, yeah, it's pretty fucking disgusting, and Twitter needs to make a goddamn stand against it, for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all I really have to say on it, all right? Twitter, you know, I want to believe that a multi-billion-dollar company wasn't complacent into it, and I want to believe the leadership of a multi-billion-dollar company has the same goal and mindset that these people do, okay? To say that these people were profiting and allegedly going after it, listen, Twitter makes a shit ton of money every year. They don't need this video specifically to help them profit up for every quarterly. However, Twitter needs to respond appropriately to this, and Twitter needs to make sure going in next time that the reporting system, which I have seen, you know, personally, in my opinion, isn't up to snuff, needs to be fucking redone for this kind of stuff going forward. Honestly, reporting this shit to authorities on the internet should just become easier in general. The internet is shifting, ladies and gentlemen, and I think, you know, reporting policies need to adjust to it. But that's all I can really say. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am